Greetings from San Diego, California. This interactive multinational teleconference is reaching you live in English and Spanish through a unique and complex international telecommunications network via satellite, microwave, and cable. This program brings together distinguished institutions representing education, business, and government in more than a dozen countries in the Americas and Europe. We'd like to extend a special welcome to the participants in the Federal Training Network who are joining us from numerous sites located throughout the United States. We look forward to hearing from you. During the video conference, we will examine the new face of the e-organizational, managerial transformation, and enabling software. This is the 11th International Training Center video conference of the year 2002 series entitled Excellence with a Global Flair. I'm Professor Peter Anderson in the School of Communication here at San Diego State University, and I'll be your moderator for this program. In the recent past, the phrase e-business or out of business became an organizational watchword as the virtues of the Internet and the World Wide Web in raising productivity and increasing business were promoted worldwide in education, business, and government. The failure of many .com businesses has caused a reappraisal of e-commerce. Is e-commerce really essential for all institutions and businesses? We have learned that technology-based business activity is not separate from the people that use it, and the technology must be designed for the users, not for the providers of technology. Managerial leadership and technical competence are essential ingredients for success in the transformation process required to blend technology and integrate the software and connectivity that fits their productive applications. So what is the state of e-commerce today? How can it be adapted to the consumer? Are brick and mortar businesses a thing of the past? What do people mean when bricks and clicks are the wave of the future? This video conference will present an overview of how e-business is evolving today, the criteria managers must use to develop their transformation plans, and the technology partners they must attract to continuously be in the forefront of innovation, particularly maintaining the most appropriate software and hardware for their specific needs and realities. Our first guest is Professor Carl Rebman. He is Director of Information Technology Management Institute and a member of the Faculty of Information Systems and Electronic Commerce at the University of San Diego. He conducts research in areas of electronic commerce enterprise, resource planning, and user-computer self-efficacy, open source software, and marketing information systems. He has published a score of research papers in the areas of speech recognition, electronic group meeting support systems, and neural networks. He is also a reviewer for the Journal of Electronic Commerce Research, the Quarterly Journal of Electronic Commerce, and the Journal of Information Systems Education. In addition to reviewing articles, Carl serves on the editorial board of the Journal of Information Systems Education. Dr. Rebman has provided consulting services to the Memphis Redbirds, NASCAR, and the University of Mississippi. He received his Ph.D. in Management Information Systems and a Master of Business Administration from the University of Mississippi, and 2 BFAs from the University of Arizona in Media Management and Graphic Design Photography. Paul Stannard is the CEO of SmartDraw.com, the leading provider of easy-to-use software for business graphics. Dr. Stannard founded his company in 1994 with no debt, no capital, and no outside funding. SmartDraw.com became profitable since day one and is recognized by Deloitte & Touche as one of the 50 fastest growing technology companies in Southern California, and by Inc. magazine as one of the 500 fastest growing companies in the U.S. The website generates more than 1.5 million visitors each month, putting it in the top 10th of 1% of the most visited sites on the internet. Dr. Stannard is no newcomer to the PC industry. He first fell under its spell in 1980. As a software developer, he's written more than a dozen published software applications, including SmartDraw. He has also written applications for software publishing companies like Microsoft, Broderbund, Intuit, and GraphPad. He was born in England and is a graduate of Oxford University and UCLA with a Ph.D. in chemistry. He served as chairman of the San Diego Software and Internet Council and on the board of directors of the Corporate Directors Forum. Gentlemen, welcome, and let's start with this question. In an era of massive dot-com failures, what are the ingredients for a successful e-commerce operation?
Well, I could put it in just sort of simple, practical terms. And like any marketing operation, if you pay more to attract a customer to your website or, say, to mail them a piece in the traditional direct marketing world, than you receive as revenue per customer, then overall you're going to lose money. The more you scale up that equation where you pay more than you get, that's what happened to most of the dot-com failures. They paid far more for their customers than they got revenue. On the other hand, if you can turn that ratio the right way up, then when you scale up, you make more money. So it's no different than any other business.
Thanks. Carl, something to add to that?
Yeah, I would expound upon that and say it really is about thinking how e-commerce is going to fit within your organization, thinking about how you're going to implement the technology to your current business practices, which then in turns to focusing on the business management issues.
Great. Well, thank you for your excellent insights. Now, let's begin with Module 1.
Thank you. We are all familiar with the traditional commerce model of purchasing items. However, now we have the ability to purchase and interact with companies online. Though there have been many dot-com failures recently, Internet application and online sales are the fastest growing segment of business today. All of a sudden, we have new terms like e-business, e-commerce, e-organizations that all of us need to learn and address. That is, if we would like to be in business. But what exactly does all of it mean, and what do we need to learn? Well, let's start with some simple facts. First, the Internet and the increase in the use of high-speed access by the average person has forced a change in the way that companies conduct business. Secondly, in the year 2000, online revenues were over $20 billion, according to eMarketer, an online research database specializing in e-commerce statistics. In the March of 2002, this year's revenue is expected to be in the range of over $50 billion. These numbers alone provide justification for learning and entering the e-commerce market. One challenge in entering the e-commerce market is not clearly understanding the changes that it presents. But what exactly is e-commerce? What will it change for my company? Electronic commerce is difficult to actually define as it has gone through much iteration. Before the Internet, it was referred to as EDI, or Electronic Data Interface, which focused on the exchange of data between computers and forms. Now, after the Internet, electronic commerce is broader, directly affecting the heart of corporate business strategies. It has also been defined by Jay Tenenbaum as the opportunity for companies to electronically exchange information and services that are important to their businesses. It doesn't have to involve money. It's the creation of an open marketplace. Randall Whitting defines e-commerce as being about a global electronic marketplace that enables all members of a value chain to interact spontaneously for mutual benefit. It is about providing a platform for complete relationship management, or more currently known as customer relationship management, or CRM. Now that we have a better understanding of the definition of electronic commerce, how can a company adequately address this issue? While electronic commerce consists of several steps, it can be boiled down into three main components: before the buying or selling, during the sale, and after the sale. The goal of transforming the traditional model to an electronic one is threefold. First, replace as many steps as possible with an electronically enabled capability that brings the cycle closer to a closed-loop process. What happens in an open-loop process? Your customers can leave to go somewhere else. Second, start to tie the various steps together as it becomes logically or financially feasible. Lastly, begin to measure the value derived from the new processes. Today, there are 5 major categories of electronic commerce: B2B, B2C, C2B, C2C, and M-commerce. B2B, or business-to-business electronic commerce, refers to the relationship between two or more businesses using the internet for the relationship channel. Most electronic commerce today is B2B. Another popular form of e-commerce is business-to-consumer, or B2C, in which a business sells directly to a consumer. One of the world's largest B2C examples is Amazon.com. Customer to business is where the consumer takes the initiative in the buying and selling relationship to contact the business. The most visible example of C2B is Priceline.com, which offers a forum whereby consumers state the price that they are willing to pay for a specific product or service, including airline, travel, and hotel accommodations. And the participating vendors attempt to accommodate their needs while meeting their budgets. Another facet of electronic commerce is consumer to consumer, or C2C. This is a process whereby people sell to other people. One good example of this case is eBay.com, the well-known worldwide auction site. Lastly, there is the advent of mobile to consumer, or M-commerce, where information is retrieved via mobile devices such as cell phones and PDAs. Again, what does this mean for the average business? Simple. It means that your competition has now exponentially increased, and given the size of the pie, that is not surprising. So what can be done about it? Well, it is important that one understands the business drivers and then uses the internet and e-commerce to assist in the delivery of the application. For example, why is electronic commerce so successful? Well, for one thing, the internet assists to remove the inefficiencies in the distribution channel. The main role of a distribution channel is to reach the customer at a price that includes the inherent distribution cost. In a traditional retailing environment, there is a 40 to 60% immediate markup. In many cases, the total markup from manufacturer to consumer is 135%. Manufacturers are concerned that they are losing revenue through inefficient distribution channels. As such, customers are beginning to question the value offered by traditional distribution channels. The e-commerce environment helps to answer this question. But how exactly does e-commerce help? E-commerce is adopted because of the cost savings realized by companies. For example, electronic processing can cost anywhere from 5 to 10 times less than the paper human handling cost. Retail markets are barely expanding, but by shifting to open market, such as internet-driven marketplaces, organizations can redefine market shares in the e-marketplace. There are 3 areas for growth. First, the creation of new online markets for existing products. Second, the creation of new products specifically designed for online markets. Third, the opening of international markets via the electronic marketplace. However, there's a slight problem with these new markets. We have the technological ability to reach anyone in the world. Why don't more companies attempt to capitalize on this technology? Is it a business or technological issue? It is a business transformation issue. Companies need to change their structure if they wish to compete in the electronic market. Also, the current e-business marketplace must take into account other competitors. Well, this makes sense, as any serious corporate planning takes into account what the competition is doing. In the electronic marketplace, old market leaders are being challenged by new companies that offer better value that is being increasingly demanded by customers. You can change your processes to match your competition. However, the internet and e-commerce is reducing that time from 3 years to roughly 6 months. A company engaged in e-commerce must be aware of all forms of competition and substitute products. Take, for example, online travel. How do you get people to use the computer instead of the telephone? Or, how do you deal with people using your website over your telephone sales representatives? Which area do you focus on? The answer is both. The current state of the e-commerce market requires an understanding of the expectations of online customers. As consumers become increasingly wired and aware of e-commerce interactions, they will begin to demand more and more. Customers will expect the large breadth and depth of services. Suppliers and partners will come to expect online exchange capabilities. Customers are predicted to prefer bidirectional channels over unidirectional. What else do online consumers want? Well, easy and comprehensive comparison shopping, the ability to bid out a request to the web, and self-service control. Yet there is more than the customers. One must understand the total elements involved. In the current e-commerce world, there are 3 main spheres of reference. First, your customer net, which focuses on the expansion of electronic distribution channels. Supplier net focuses on the perfection of the supply chain management process. It affects the relationship between suppliers and customers. Third, partner net, set out to exploit virtual partnerships with all kinds of trading partners that are not suppliers and customers. By focusing on these 3 areas, a company can take advantage of the e-commerce market. Now that we have an understanding of the customers and the changes involved in the electronic marketplace, there needs to be some discussion of the current internet medium and the various roles that it plays. The internet has 5 multiple identities. First, it's a network. Bare bones, it allows for interconnecting computers and employees and customers. Second, it's a medium. The internet augments the traditional marketing mix. It's a market. It becomes a market if it directly generates new or additional revenue for your business. Fourth, it's a transaction platform. It allows you to complete all of your business transactions online. Fifth, it's a development platform. Organizations are learning to develop new client-server applications, for example, Java. One of the common errors that corporations make is to underestimate the realities regarding challenges facing internet commerce deployment. Ignoring these challenges will directly affect the realistic expectations you may have had. So what is really holding back the exponential growth of internet commerce? There are 3 areas. First, there is a lack of divide and conquer mentality or approach. Organizations need to acquire the ability to recognize how to divide challenges into different categories. Second, organizations don't realize that it's not the technology. It is not the technical challenges that are the hardest to overcome, but the non-technical business processes. Third, organizations don't realize that they can't always control external factors. You can control the internal factors, and you need to work to resolve the external. The current e-business model is quite mature. What can you do to ensure that you are adept and ready to handle it? Follow these steps and you just might make it. Step 1. Conduct necessary education. Educate internally from the top down. Inform upper management about the drivers and the challenges to electronic commerce. Assess management readiness. Develop a buyer-seller model and keep track of transactions. And educate your customers about your capabilities and their benefits. The desired outcome here is to have informed managers and executives, customers that try your new capabilities, and employees who learn to act on your new internet strategy. Second, you should review current distribution and supply chain models. Look at the following. Can you increase the number of electronic connections, simplify inter-organizational processes, and speed up the value chain? What is likely to happen to your wholesalers, distributors, or retailers? Will you support them or bypass them? Your desired outcome here is to change your value chain proactively. Concentrate your electronic distribution strategy on the internet as the primary electronic marketplace. And review and expand your entry through the direct web, indirect web, and agent web. Third, you should understand what your customers and partners expect from the internet. How many of your customers are able and willing to conduct business with you electronically? Do you know their patterns and if these will translate into electronic patterns? The desired outcome here is to take steps to obtain an accurate profile of the sophistication level of your customers, both electronic and traditional. To open your intranet to supplier access. To look at the entire buying-selling cycle process and decide where services can be introduced. Fourth, in moving into e-commerce, you should reevaluate the nature of your products and services. Take a look at hard goods, soft goods, interactive services, and digital tokens. The desired outcome here is to digitize old products where applicable, introduce new information-based products, and to develop a separate new strategy to take advantage of smart card products. Fifth, you should give a new role to your human resources department. Because the internet is cross-functional, it is necessary that your human resource department be able to establish corporate internet policies, act as a company certification authority, and formalize new job description. The desired outcome here is to determine how to increase your number of internet professionals, develop and hire new positions for internet commerce, and establish internet commerce knowledge within the HR department to allow it to add value to your strategy. Sixth, extend your current systems to the outside. Your company keeps track of a wealth of information that your customers are interested in. Try to make links for them to access that information before they request it from you. The desired outcome here is to make certain your website has functionality, extend and link internal systems to the web as an intended goal, not as an afterthought, and find internal applications that can be web-enabled. Seventh, track new competitors and market shares in the new digital marketplace. It used to be easy to determine who your competitors were. Now you need to predict the markets that are likely at risk. You must be able to assess the intensity of their competition. Also, how do you determine the difference between traditional sales and internet sales? An example for this would be the example of Charles Schwab and E-Trade. The desired outcome is to list all possible new entrants, develop competitive strategies, and reevaluate your business model. The eighth step is to develop a centric marketing strategy. You need individuals that understand the internet and can clearly target the web as a primary marketing channel. This person could be the organization's internet marketing manager. look at and study what is the life cycle of an internet product. The URL can create a digital brand, but what else? Develop a 100% web-centric marketing program that relies on the web as the marketing channel. After building your value with your customers, work on your digital branding process. Ninth, you should participate in the creation and development of virtual marketplace. New intermediaries can change the rules of competition in totally unexpected ways. You will need to uncover, predict, and assess the impact of these new and current intermediaries on your marketplace and customers. The desired outcome is to identify 5 new types of intermediary business that can threaten your current business model, to identify 2 new types of intermediary business that you may be able to enter, and to find 3 potential internet businesses that you would like to acquire, and then try to. Last step, install electronic market management style. Electronic management is different from traditional management. Unless your business is entirely electronic, you will need to find a balance between the two. Although the electronic business market requires new parameters, do not forget about prior traditional practices. The desired outcome is to treat decisions separately depending on the following 4 outcomes. First, decisions for electronic markets that do not affect anything else, i.e., the status of any given service. 2, decisions for electronic markets that affect traditional markets, i.e., channel conflict. Third, decisions for traditional markets that affect electronic markets, processes for customer service and support. And fourth, decisions for traditional markets that won't affect electronic markets. While these steps will help your company to strengthen or prepare its place in the e-commerce world, you still need to address the cultural factors of the e-business model. Why? Simple. Because the internet now allows for an easier breakdown of geographic barriers, a company no longer needs to set up a physical location in a foreign country to sell products. As such, many companies have rushed to reach customers all over the world in what we refer to as the global marketplace. However, just because the technology exists doesn't mean you can be successful by just creating a website and advertising it in a foreign country. There are still many issues to address. First, there is the language barrier. You not only have to translate your website, but make certain the meaning of your product is also correctly interpreted by your audience. Secondly, there are currency issues. You have to create some mechanism that allows for the proper translation of your customer's currency into the preferred currency of your customer. Third, you must engage in proper research into the values, lifestyles, and opportunities of the customers in your country. It is the same concept as target marketing to any demographic group. Just because you now have the ability to sell your message at significant reduced cost to the world doesn't mean that they will want to buy it. Also, you must have an understanding towards each foreign government's view towards international business, i.e., towards taxes, laws, etc. Because after all, you will eventually have to deliver some type of product that in most cases will require a physical distribution process. This last point can be underscored by recognizing some large broad stroke attitudes held by different countries. For example, Americans embrace technology without study of cultural, sociological, and human issues. On the other hand, Europeans are the opposite, and their political structure is much more complicated than the United States. Lastly, the Japanese are more focused on the economic implications of electronic commerce. As such, their government is responsible for sponsoring many e-commerce initiatives. In conclusion, although the world is changing, you can still keep yourself a step ahead of the game by knowing your new type of customers, knowing your new competitors, and knowing the new playing field called the e-marketplace. After all, if you don't change to adapt to the market, someone else will. Thank you.
First question and answer session. We will try to answer as many questions as possible. Therefore, we ask that only one question be asked per phone call and that these questions be as brief as possible. You may call the studio directly on the phone numbers or fax which appear on the screen. We remind you to make your phone calls from a distance from the monitor to avoid feedback. Our first caller is from Colombia, from Federación Nacional de Comerciantes in Medellín. Come in, please.